Good evening, Range of Beauties, and welcome to the Pink Politics Show. In the last video, I told you that racist and blatantly corrupt cable television operator, Comcast Corporation, is trying to repeal the Civil Rights Act of 1866. In case you don't already know, that's a post-Civil War law that forbids racial discrimination against Black Americans in business contracts. During that video, I didn't tell you, however, who the man behind the bid to throw out the 153-year-old civil rights law is. But with only one day left before the Supreme Court hearing on Wednesday, November the 13th, it is now the time to do so. The man that you see on the right side of the screen is Brian L. Roberts. He is chairman and CEO of Comcast Corporation. He owns MSNBC, the left-leaning television network that provides non-stop anti-Black American news coverage and political commentary. And he's a financial and moral supporter of the Democratic Party. He's played golf with Barack Obama. He supported Hillary Clinton in the 2016 United States presidential election. In 2004, he received the Humanitarian Award from the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and he currently lives in Philadelphia. Brian is a member of the Business Roundtable and also served on the President's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness. In 2002, he was the Walter K. Foundation Honoree of the Year for his commitment to diversity in the cable industry. All of this information tells us that Brian Roberts is a favorite of many in the Democratic Party. He's also, as the quickly approaching Supreme Court case that pits his cable giant Comcast against lone African American defendant Byron Allen clearly demonstrates, a racist, a bully, a hypocrite, and a liberal extremist who is trying to turn back the clock on Black Americans' civil rights. Roberts calls Black Americans frivolous because they want his company, Comcast, to cease its attack on the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The whole Comcast argument against Byron Allen is totally regressive and racist to the core. But Democrats and the political pundits over at MSNBC and CNN are silent about Roberts' racism and effort to rescind a civil rights law that protects the rights of African Americans. None of the 2020 Democrats have spoken out against Brian Roberts to our knowledge. The Democratic presidential candidates, however, did speak out against Trump's decision to scrap the Obama-era DACA program that protects undocumented people who live in the United States. So what Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and all the other 2020 Democrats are telling you is that they are more than willing to fight for a law that works for illegal immigrants, but not for a law that protects Black Americans. A founding American group who can vote and who are, up until this point, the Democrats' most loyal constituency.
Now in this country, you got some 2 million young people who were raised in this country, who know the United States as their only home, who are in the DACA program, who are scared to death of being deported. They're in the military. They're in school. They're working. That's wrong.
One's a Rhodes Scholar.
That's right.
Rhodes Scholar.
That's right. And you got 10 million people in this country, including several million who are sustaining our agriculture in this country, who are undocumented. The time is long overdue for Congress and this president to say we need comprehensive immigration reform and, in my view, a path towards citizenship.
So comprehensive immigration reform did pass the Senate a few years ago, and now the blockage, of course, was a Republican-controlled House. Now the Democrats control the House. So how do you get to yes on this?
Well, I think you will see the House raising this issue and bringing it up as soon as possible, and I think we got a chance to do something meaningful.
Nobody at MSNBC or CNN is denouncing Roberts either. Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, Van Jones, and all the rest of the Democratic propagandists haven't said one word about him. This is without a doubt because Maddow, Reid, and everyone else over at MSNBC knows what side their bread is buttered on. As I stated earlier, Brian Roberts owns MSNBC. Therefore, he cuts Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid's checks. If you ask me, this is a glaring example of a conflict of interest. Television anchors and political commentators who report on our country's political news should not be the employees of an utterly partisan racist such as Roberts. This also explains why MSNBC makes things easier for Democrats. So the next time Rachel Maddow, a left-leaning, opinionated host, is moderating a Democratic 2020 so-called debate and no questions are asked about reparations and a black agenda, it's because Roberts probably told her not to ask those kinds of questions. And not only does Roberts more than likely dictate every detail of MSNBC's programming with partisan objectives in mind to Maddow and all the other MSNBC propagandists, but he's also a big-time hypocrite. Now, as previously mentioned, he was given a humanitarian award from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Now, this award that he received recognizes individuals who dedicate their time to fighting against indifference, intolerance, and injustice. Roberts, however, is not against any of those things. If he were truly against indifference, intolerance, and injustice, he wouldn't be seeking to abrogate or do away with the 1866 Civil Rights Act. That law he's now contesting was created to protect newly emancipated Black Americans and their progeny against indifference, intolerance, and injustice in the domain of business. We believe that an online petition to take that award away and all the others that recognizes him as a champion of diversity should be started immediately. We cannot allow a racist globalist who is seeking to roll back civil rights protections for Black Americans and who is pushing an agenda that hurts Black Americans in every conceivable way on his television network to be granted such awards in our country. Finally, it is worth noting that the Business Roundtable, which Roberts is a part of, wants to continue unfair trade practices with Canada and Mexico. This is one of the main groups that advocated for NAFTA, which is an acronym that stands for North American Free Trade Agreement. In case you don't know, NAFTA is a 1994 multilateral trade deal between the United States, Canada, and Mexico that sent American manufacturing and industrial jobs to Canada and Mexico. The result of this treasonous trade deal, brokered by Comcast MSNBC Brian Roberts and the Democrats, equated to joblessness for Black Americans. Nobody was hit harder by NAFTA than those in Detroit and Flint, Michigan. The Black American men who live in Black American women communities used those manufacturing and industrial jobs to feed their families for decades. But ever since Roberts and Hillary Clinton's husband, Democrat Bill Clinton, signed NAFTA, tens of millions of American jobs have left the United States, and cities like the aforementioned have suffered immensely. The Supreme Court case is this Wednesday, November the 13th. Hopefully the court's judges side with Black American businessman Byron Allen. You can side with Byron Allen too, sis, by calling Comcast and canceling your Comcast cable subscription. Thank you for joining us. I'm Taylor Washington, and this is Pink Politics, where Black womanhood and politics converge.